Well, hello, and thank you for joining me for another ITY video with top Australian and, in this case, international executives. I have Paul Zeiter. He's the president of Zerto. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Alex. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. So, could you please start by telling us what Zerto does, reminding us, and also the short version of your personal history in the world of tech?
Certainly. So, Alex, Zerto is in the business continuity disaster recovery space, really looking at offering up resiliency for our customers. And our vision of the company is to offer up an uninterrupted world of technology for our business customers and the people that use our technology.
Sure, and as you were saying, it's sort of disaster recovery, business continuity, all those things to make sure that businesses, if they have downtime, they don't have downtime, right?
Absolutely. Downtime is critical to businesses. It's very well documented that, it used to be measured in potentially days or weeks of companies being down and not being able to run their businesses, and that's no longer acceptable. So the more time that you're down in your business is very costly to the business and costly to your customer base.
Yeah, now you want to measure it in nanoseconds, not days or weeks. And so what's a bit of your history in the world of tech?
Sure. So I actually started out of college in finance and quickly decided, living in the Silicon Valley, that there was more to life.
Yeah.
So I decided to make the transition into technology. Initially started in distribution, which gave me a pretty broad base of technologies to work with and get an understanding of the land. And from there, I moved into the storage end of the business, working for Quantum in initially the disk business and ultimately into the tape backup business. And after Quantum, I was my first step into the startup world. So I had actually met Zeiter, our CEO of our current company at Zerto, who at the time was the CTO, one of three founders, at another Israeli startup by the name of Kasha that was in a similar space, in the business continuity disaster recovery space, and came on board to run global sales for Kasha. We ultimately sold that business to EMC back in 2006.
Wow.
And I spent the next 6 years at EMC running a couple global sales teams for that product and a storage virtualization technology, and had the itch to get back into the startup world again and build something fun. And Zeev had approached me and talked to me about what he was doing. I took a look at the technology, was extremely excited with the approach that they were taking in the market and seeing what they were doing to address customer pain points. And he had me at hello and jumped on board in January 2012, and it's been a great ride since.
And here we are. So how has 2016 been for Zerto, for you and for your customers thus far?
Yeah, 2016, Alex, has been a phenomenal year. We've been very fortunate in terms of coming to market, right place, right time with the technology, and we've doubled the business every year since the inception when we started shipping product in the fall of 2011. And as you can appreciate, as you grow a business and you're doubling each year, that mountain gets steeper and steeper.
Sure.
But I'm very happy to announce that through the first what's almost 6 months of the year here, we are more than on track to double the business again this year, and just continue to see the momentum and the velocity picking up.
That's great news. Now, I know that you're about to announce an additional US $20 million in funding, which is bringing your total growth round to $70 million. How are you going to use the money, I guess, not only globally, but specifically in the APAC and ANZ regions to grow the business? And what are the things that surrounding this? What are the things that keep you up at night to keep all that growth accelerating?
Sure, that's a great question, Alex. So, what keeps me up at night and ties directly into the question you just asked around what we're going to do with the money is my biggest concern, and I hear this constantly, oftentimes at trade shows with customers that come up to us and say, hey, so-and-so referred me that I really got to talk to you guys and see what you're doing. And, the unfortunate part of the business is you just can't get out in front of every customer fast enough.
Sure.
And, that what keeps me up at night is hearing customers that come back and say, I just bought, if I only knew about you guys, you would have solved my problems. I actually settled on a different technology, and I'm unfortunately spent the money, and I'm dissatisfied with what I have. So, getting the word out and getting in front of enough customers fast enough is critically important and has been core to our growth. And when we look at ANZ in particular, we started, as most companies do, in U.S. focus, a large market, of course, easy for us to get into from a language standpoint. And as we grew the U.S., we then expanded into EMEA, opening up operations across Europe. And approximately a year and a half ago, we decided that APJ was a phenomenal opportunity and market for us.
Absolutely.
So we took the step to expand. We had a footprint in Australia and had very good traction in Australia, so we knew the proof points. We also knew we had customers that were coming from South Korea, as an example, that we didn't even have a presence in South Korea, and yet we had customers reaching out. So we knew we were onto something from a technology standpoint, and now it was a matter of starting to accelerate the footprints. So we're proud to announce that we opened our office in Singapore. Actually, we popped the champagne bottles just last night.
Excellent.
And the focus in the region is we now have presence in Japan, in China. We continue to expand our footprint in Australia and India now as well, with actual people, feet on the ground. Both sales, marketing support, and pre-sales engineering support. And Singapore will be our hub. So Singapore, from a central time zone standpoint, to be able to address those markets, works extremely well for us. Singapore also has a really strong talent pool. So as we continue to expand our footprint with people in Singapore, giving us a lot of capability from a multiple language standpoint is also very beneficial.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, Singapore is a great hub for that reason. I mean, Australians would love you to say, hey, have your headquarters here, but Singapore's much closer to the APJ region, and that, that makes sense. So I just thought of a question just now. What's the history behind the name Zerto?
So Zerto is actually a play on words. So it's a combination of zero and RTO. RTO is a term in the business, recover time objective, which is how fast can you come back up after you have had a disaster or a human error, whatever it may be. So Zerto is a play on words of getting that recover time objective down as low as you possibly can.
Down to zero, yeah. I can imagine. So, I mean, a question that every business that is raising funds wants an answer to, and probably not quite sure what the answer is, but is working as hard as possible. How soon before, you have so many customers and so much income from those customers that you sort of self-funding, you don't need to have more investment rounds? And of course, we understand the reasons why you do investment, because you want to accelerate growth, and that's something that a lot of businesses do. But what's the sort of the plan for when you've, made it to even bigger levels?
Sure. And so, Alex, you're exactly right. The decisions that have been made thus far to continue to invest in the business is all around growth and accelerating growth. We are run in a very fiscally conservative fashion. So we measure the investments that we're making with growth with a very strong eye to understanding at what point can we turn the corner, if you will. And turning the corner for us really comes down to getting additional efficiencies in the markets that we're playing in. As you'd expect initially, as you're breaking into new markets, you're going to invest ahead of the curve. What we've seen with our investments in the U.S. as an example, we can see very clearly how we get to those efficiencies. We're seeing similar in Europe, initially in the U.K., very similar model, actually the same in Australia. We see very similar models in terms of how we get to a point of profitability. And as we continue to expand, now we're taking the investments and adding into, like I said, countries like Japan and China and India and elsewhere throughout EMEA as well. And the timing to profitability is one I can't give you the exact date of when we will make that crossover. We do have clear line of sight that this funding takes us to that point to give us the option, frankly, of being a self-sufficient company, or if we choose to take the company public, we also have that option to continue to establish and grow the company to the next level. Our focus and vision is to have a long-term, long-standing company that we can continue to grow on a global basis and solve customer pain points out in the market around their business resiliency. Sure.
And you mentioned, obviously, you do business in Australia and New Zealand. Are you able to mention any customers? And if not, can you at least say what sectors they're in?
I can certainly address the sectors, and we do have a large number of customers in Australia. We've been selling in Australia now for almost 4 years. So Australia was an earlier footprint for us prior to us expanding into the rest of APJ. If you look at the customers that we sell to, our focus is from small, medium to large enterprise. And we have customers across all spectrums. We're huge in healthcare and technology, financial institutions, legal institutions, government is big for us as well. Retail, manufacturing, transportation. Really, what's so compelling about the technology is that we find that any customers out there that have pain points around resiliency and business continuity for their businesses that are running applications, and today applications, even your mail is critically important now to your business.
Yeah.
Your SAP applications, your Oracle databases. When these go down, your business is down, and when you look at the financial impact, it's significant. When you look at the impact, you talk about healthcare. We've had a lot of traction and a lot of customer adoption. Now you're talking about actual life and death of folks.
Yeah,
if you can't get, the surgeon can't get to the patient's data quickly in the case of a disaster, that means that lives are on the line. So it's really a technology that is being adopted across every vertical. There isn't a vertical that we don't play in today. And again, what we look for is solving the customer's pain points around their business resiliency.
Sure. Now, we've seen things like storage go from hard disks. I remember reading about original hard disks that were like washing machines with 5 megabytes. And we all play with SSDs and various forms of flash storage. So looking into the future, and storage is, of course, one part of disaster recovery and continuity, but there's other elements too. But looking into the future, into the crystal ball, as it were, how do you think the market will look like in, say, 2026, in 10 years' time? I mean, I know you can't say specifically, but you probably have some ideas as to where you're going, at least.
Yeah, so you're going to date me a little bit here, Austin, because I was one of those guys selling those refrigerator-sized disk drives back in the day, and I can tell you that's almost it's not almost, it's 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember very clearly back in those days how they talked about rotating disk and storage being obsolete in a matter of 3 or 4 years. Well, here we are 30 years later. The disk drives are certainly much smaller than the big 9-inch drives and 8-inch drives that I was selling back in those days. And the capacity certainly has gone through the roof.
Absolutely.
But the reality is there's a long tail on technologies. And, for better or for worse, unfortunately, technologies fail. Certainly hardware fails, which lends even more to the type of work that we do.
Sure.
In terms of the resiliency factor, my crystal ball says, that the business, that customers want to be out of the technology business. That they used to, have to have a lot of IT infrastructure and expertise around that, but they're realizing that in today's competitive world, they've got to put their focus on their core business of what they're doing, and that's where the investments need to be made. And that's why you see so much movement towards cloud and towards SaaS.
Sure.
Is that the more that they can outsource and turn that into an operational expense line on their business and put their resources towards truly differentiating their business, whatever that business may be, that's where the market's going. And I believe very strongly that the storage wars that go on today and the compute wars, that what changes is that, in my opinion, becomes much more commoditized, and the software is where the differentiation is. And not to say that the storage vendors out there don't have a great deal of software in their solution,
Sure.
but more and more goes into truly software defined, and that the hardware component just becomes more and more commoditized at the end of the day.
Yeah. So look, as we get to the end of the interview, I always like to ask a sort of a different question, and that's simply to ask if you could please share the best piece of advice that's helped you to get you where you are today.
I think the best piece of advice that I've received and I've heard, and it's something that has come up with people at the end of their lives, which is what's the one regret? Yeah. And the one regret that people often say is that I didn't take enough risks in life. And that's something that it took me a while in life to I'm a pretty conservative guy on a lot of levels, but the more I challenged and took risks in taking that step into the unknown is hugely invigorating, challenging, but more fun than taking the safe road, and really finding things that you're passionate about and That other component is people always tell you, and I'm a strong believer, if you're not doing something you're passionate about, life can be a drudge.
Yeah.
If you find something that you're really excited and passionate about, then you are much more successful in what you're doing, and the work becomes less of a task and more enjoyable at the end of the day.
Sure, I think it's something we can all take to heart. And so, do you have any final messages for ITWire viewers and readers, and for your current and future customers?
So my current customers, I appreciate. I love our customers. That's why we're in the business that we're in.
Yeah.
So we appreciate their business and their passion. Our customers are our biggest advocates to get the word out to potential new customers. And for potential new customers, I would welcome the opportunity to have discussions and to take a look at the technology and to see what it can do. It is truly a game changer in the business continuity space, and we love to have the conversations. We love to have customers test out the product. This is truly a technology that our customers tell us all the time, wow, it was impressive to see the PowerPoint slides and the demo, but usually the product doesn't match what you guys are talking about, not us particularly, but in the IT industry as a whole. And this technology truly does work as advertised, and really wows our customers and really gives them a very positive and unique experience that we would like to continue to expand that footprint out and get more and more customers to take a look at our technology.
Sure. Well, Paul, thank you very much. Best of luck for the future, and I hope we can talk again in the future.
Thank you, Alex. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.